My name is Lisa Mari Stойчев and I am born in 1989 in Munich in Germany. And I am presenting my film here, which is called Това беше 1965. It's a documentary film here at Sofia Film Fest.
I love that you include so many bits of literature from Aleko Konstantinov to Karl May to Janice Nakamura's Language Regret and even Elias Kennedy's La Lingua Salvata. So can you talk about how using sources like that structure your research in your travels here in Bulgaria?
Because it was a long process of researching on this history of my family, my father, but also through that, actually a research on my own history. And for me, it was coming quite naturally that when I started to occupy myself intensely with the topics, that I just, because that's my kind of approach, I just read a lot of things. And so I was trying to maybe search for answers also not just in my personal story, but also then in literature or philosophy, to somehow get closer to understanding.
And a lot of it ended up in the film as like a pretty significant part of the narrative, which worked out quite well in my opinion. A large part of your film consists of, might I add, very tastefully restored home footage from 8mm to VHS of your dad and yourself. So what was it like finding that and restoring it and choosing to use it all?
So this VHS material that you saw from my childhood, it was actually something that I had a long time ago, maybe like 10 years ago, I had digitalized it. And it was just so broken, like exactly how you see it in the film. So we did not manipulate anything. And for me, it was such a beautiful metaphor for how memories are also like fainting or being something that one person might remember like that and another person will remember it completely differently. And kind of like I watched it again because when I had digitalized it, it was just for personal archive. And then when I worked on the film, like I digged into it again, and then I had this kind of gaze of searching for also how I was shaped in my childhood in Germany, and I was on a search for also these different cultures within me, and then I had like a very different lens of how to look at this material from my childhood. And the other material, actually the Super 8 that you are talking about, which my father and my mother shot, it was something that I did not see before my dad died. So it was after his death that I found like these rolls. And I asked my mother, hey, what is this? Yeah, these are these Super 8 films, that we shot when we were traveling. And then, we were searching first for a projector that works then because hers was broken. And then I saw this material. And for me, it was very nice because it's so associative. It's very beautiful. And this is a past that is longer ago than my childhood, but it's not broken, which I also found interesting. This material is so beautiful. And like my own memories, they are like raw. And then I used this material more in an associative way, even though it was also coming from an interest that these were like the travels that my father was maybe dreaming of, and that when he got German citizenship 13 years after he had escaped Bulgaria, so quite a long time had passed, and also when he actually reached a point where he could afford such travels, then this was like, these were his dreams in some way. And I have kind of added my own dreams on top of them, for example. So I'm, reading these letters to my father. And we hear about like my dream of being connected to Bulgaria and to this part of myself, while we see his dream, which is a very different one.
You talk about various forms of assimilation violence in the immigrant experience. Like your dad getting used to eating basically no garlic after spending so much of his life having a lot of garlic. How does this reflect on the second generation?
It's been a very interesting revelation almost to me, that I realized this is like a very good maybe image, the garlic. Of course, it's like an image for this, what I'm describing, where something that is very dear or has been very dear and important to my father, because also the Selo where he's from is like very famous for its chesson and so on. And so this was like a very, close thing, right? And so I used this kind of like as this image of that something that was very important to him, like slowly got lost because of how it was perceived in Germany, in West Germany, as being like something disgusting when you eat the garlic and you smell. And for the context, this was when he, in his second kind of part of his life, became a dentist. So it was then also this image of, as a dentist, you are not allowed to smell like garlic, right? And so he started to eat less of it. And for me, it was this that I remember how my father, I'm sure I'm also mentioning that if I would talk with him about it, how for me this is an image of how he lost something on the way of becoming accepted and successful, that probably he would say, well, okay, that's just
the price you pay.
Yeah, exactly. That's just how it is, and people are different, and you have to adapt to the society in which you migrate into, kind of. And for me, it's really like been this image of, okay, but I have also maybe the privilege and freedom to actually say, I, as a second generation, I can look at it and I can say, well, but I feel so much got lost on this way. So yes, there is maybe something that has also been very important for my father to get out of poverty, but at the same time, like for which cost? What is the price he in some way also had to pay for that? And so I, as a second generation, I see all that loss because I feel like disconnected, or I didn't have so much access to Bulgaria or to the language or to my very close relatives with whom like I could not talk to. And so this garlic is a bit of a metaphor, I think, for me of this. That's why I'm eating the garlic there and I'm enjoying it. And it's also for me something very important. So
yeah, it was brave. Like I don't think I could stomach a whole like clove like that. At the seat. So
it's a quite mild one.
Right. So as of 2023, and we just don't have much good data on this, there's anywhere between 2.5 and 4 million ethnic Bulgarians outside of Bulgaria, living, studying, having been born abroad. I know quite a few. You know who you are. And I would ask you, Lisa, after 3 years of meditating on this subject, what is one thing you would say to a person of Bulgarian descent who's never been here or doesn't come back home often enough or as much as they'd like to?
What I have learned is, because I was suffering so much from that loss that I felt, and I felt very afraid of engaging alone with Bulgaria, because after my father passed away, I thought it's really now like a big danger for me that I will just completely get disconnected, yeah? And also because some other relatives died in the meantime who became old and so on. And I think what I would say is that it's actually not too late to connect and to try, and maybe also, this is what Janice Nakamura, who you mentioned, this language scientist, it was in an article about her, where it was mentioned that maybe also this expectation that you have to speak the language fluently, that you have to kind of suddenly be the full image of maybe a Bulgarian, that this is such a high expectation, and that multilingualism can also just mean that you have a certain range of how you can engage, at least, and it doesn't have to be like fully perfect or anything. And I think for me that kind of helped as a thought of, okay, I'm afraid I'm not talking perfectly, but I will talk anyway, or I will go. And then I would also say to people who maybe have a similar yearning also, that I think people here are also so welcoming and open. And I feel, since I'm like engaging also in Bulgarian with people, that I actually experience that people are very like moved by me trying to speak, you know, and that it also means that it has a value for me. And yeah, maybe that's what I would say, that it's really never too late to try, and to try it in your own way, whatever, how much is possible for you, you know. It is still a part of us, and I think it's important to know what your origins are and what these parts are in yourself. Yeah.
Благодаря ти много.
И аз ти благодаря.